that last sentence, which is how you made them feel. That is the most important thing. And to me, that sums up what empathy is all about. So, how did I get here? How did I start to work with Gary? I've had a very long career in advertising. I trained as a psychotherapist a zillion years ago, and I've always had this incredible belief and optimism in people. I like to be a cheerleader, I like to be a coach, I love underdogs, I love overachievers, it doesn't really matter. I'm what you call an emotional optimist. I met Gary when I was living in London, and it was super obvious in our half an hour of coffee that we had that we were two sides of the same coin. Now you saw him yesterday, and he's got a magnanimous personality. So I'm a little more chill than Gary, but we have the same belief in human beings, which is the most important thing. We are optimists. So we met one another. I had this background in coaching. I had done outward bound courses. I had started my own surfing company. I had coached and managed teams all over the world. And we met, and all of a sudden, I said to myself, I need to be around this guy, and I think he needs to be around me, which was pretty boisterous at that time. So he moved me from London, and I started work at VaynerMedia. This is the guy I'm around every single day. You saw Gary, and I work with Gary Vaynerchuk, the man, who, as you saw, is very real. He's an operating CEO, and he's amazing. So when I took the role, he announced me, and in announcing me, he came out loud and proud, and he said, we want to build the greatest human organization in the world. I mean, you saw him yesterday, right? Whatever he sets his mind to, he does. Thus far, we have something called VaynerX, which is our holding company, and these subsidiaries around it. I work with 800 people. I'm what I call a servant leader. So I said to Gary, cool, officer, how do I know if I'm successful? What are my KPIs? How do I know? And he said, you will infuse empathy throughout the entire organization and touch all employees. So there's 800 people. So how do I do that? I'm going to walk you through some of my methodologies today and kind of how I do what I do, understanding that I work for a CEO who's blessed my role and blessed heart and HR and people at the top. And I recognize that not all places are like that. But I do believe that there's a groundswell coming and a change in corporate culture. So fingers crossed we will all get there sooner than later. So touch 800 people and infuse the agency with empathy. How do I do that? There's no job description. As far as I know, I'm still the only chief heart officer. I had to figure out that it was important for me not to concentrate on the minutia, but to concentrate on the overarching company, the well, if that makes sense. So not going into all of the nooks and crannies, but looking at the organization as a whole. So back to Maya Angelou. Everything, to me, in my opinion, is how you make people feel. That is the alpha and the omega. That is all that matters. In business, it's the same exact thing. It shouldn't be any different. How we treat people in business or in life or in family, in my opinion, should all be consistent. One of the reasons that when I took this role, I changed the department name from HR, because I really don't know what HR means, to people and experience. Because after all, that's what we're dealing with. People and their experience at VaynerMedia. And their experience starts when they send in their resume and their CV on LinkedIn. That's when the experience starts. So my team oversees all of people and all of experience and culture. So what kills business? I'll tell you business, and I bet you have some ideas as well. Toxic competition, unfair competition, pitting people against each other. Micromanagement, which is when managers control you and they want to get into all of the nooks and crannies. Micromanagement kills. Being given negative feedback in public. will kill. On and off an island. I like you today, I don't like you tomorrow. We're best friends today, in a week, forget about it. I don't like you anymore. Gossip, cynicism, and obviously fear. This will kill any organization. It will kill organization too. And I happen to think we have such an incredible culture. So in the past, you needed a lot of muscle for your jobs. In the Industrial Revolution in America, it was all around strength. Today, we need our brains. But tomorrow, we need our hearts. And quite frankly, tomorrow is here. No time to wait. We need to start bringing humanity and our hearts back to the workplace. And if you're a leader, you need to do that. And if you're not a leader and not in a leadership position, you still need to do that. And we'll talk about ways in which to do that. So, I put the slide up here for one reason and one reason only. Well, I think there's a lot of truth to this slide. Softer areas such as culture, engagement, leadership development have become urgent priorities. I put it here because I'm on a mission to get rid of the term soft skills. I spoke about it over there in a segment I did. So the idea of soft skills, I think, is very degrading towards those of us who believe in leadership and development and who believe in bringing more humanity into the workplace. The slide is correct, but they're not soft skills. They're necessary skills. They're life skills. They're the same exact skills that you use when you're talking to your cousin, and you're talking to your nephew, and you're talking to your best friend. It's just human skills. There should be no difference. Anyway, they are urgent priorities. We absolutely need to change the paradigm. Culture is everyone's responsibility, and it's an issue for everything, not just HR. It's a business issue. At Vayner, we put people first and profit second. We're an independent company. It's all Gary's money. And he, again, blessed the culture from the top a long time ago, 9.5 years ago. And he said, we will be a people-first organization, which is amazing for a CEO who needs to make money to say. Once he blessed it from the top, it's up to everyone to cultivate it from the ground up. So culture is my responsibility, your responsibility, his responsibility, my team's responsibility, everyone's. And culture is made up of values and beliefs, expectations, attitudes, and behaviors. These, again, need to be coming from the top, and then the community creates the actual meat of the culture, if that makes sense. So let's talk about what some of the things that promote healthy cultures. And again, common sense, I think you're all gonna say, yes, of course. Finding purpose in what I do, finding meaning in what I do. Transparency, making sure there's open and honest communication going to and from. So no fear. Autonomy, staying out of my way. Let me need to micromanage me. You hired me to do a specific thing, and I'm here to do it. So let me do it. Give me autonomy. Accessibility to leadership. So important. Accessibility to Gary, accessibility to me, the CFO. It doesn't even matter, but having an open door policy is super important. Accountability. Making sure that when you do something and it offends someone, or you're late on your, or whatever that is, that you have the courage and the maturity to stand up and say, I'm sorry I did that, that's my responsibility. Let's move on from there. So important. Accountability is one of those things that just kills me if I don't have it in my life. Compassion, meritocracy, growth, possibility. Gary talked a lot about being a yes person yesterday, seeing possibility, seeing positivity, and of course, being in a culture that is we, not I. We get it done, not I. It takes a village. So, how do I sum that up? And how do I sum up that slide that said soft skills? People matters. Skills are easy to find. There are So there are a dozen computer science majors I can find today. But what matters is the person, and then the relationships and connections we build, if that makes sense. While skills are important, you can find tons of people that have those skills in the world. But what matters is this relationship. All employees, especially the younger generations right now, millennials and Generation Z that's coming up, but all of us, we want all of these things. We want to be treated equally. We want respect. We want that growth. I want you to know that I'm invested in your learning and your development. We want to feel as though we belong, and we want to have purpose and meaning. We're going to talk about purpose and meaning in a deeper way. So, even though culture exists in the shadows, meaning I can't touch the culture. It's not red, it's not black, it's not square. It exists I know it's out there. You can still feel the emotion of a culture. Some cultures are ruled by fear. Some cultures are ruled by love. Some cultures are ruled by mental health. Better mental health, more well-being, less turnover, so forth and so. This study just came out in 2016, so it's pretty relevant today. Anyone watch Office Space, the movie? Okay, a couple people. So you know this guy? Remember him? He was terrible. He was so bad. Anyway, in the world, 87% of people still say they are disengaged in work. And why is that? I definitely think it's because we've forgotten how to be human at work. I truly, truly believe that. So creating a culture of belonging starts with people feeling as though they can bring their full selves to work. Gary spoke about this yesterday, bringing his full self. So creating a culture of belonging starts with creating a safe space where people are physically and psychologically safe to be their best selves. And that means that if they are a person that identifies as black, there's other black people. If they identify with a certain religion, there's those people. If they're LGBTQ, there's those people. That they are not the only one, kind of like party of one. That there's a feeling of inclusivity. And obviously that means you have to have diversity in order to have inclusivity. But we want to create a place at VaynerMedia where people feel like they can bring their best selves to work. And that takes a lot of work. Belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, though. It only requires you to be who you are. That's the only requirement, is to not cower and hide who you are, but be who you are. That's the deal, and that takes so much courage and so much vulnerability. And you're only gonna do that if you're in a culture or in a working environment where you feel that respect and where you feel safe, bottom line, right? And that's something that's on my mind every single day when I walk to work. Okay, how am I gonna create a safe space today? How am I gonna make sure that Jack feels okay because he has a handicap? How am I gonna make sure that Jane feels okay because she has someone that she loves in the hospital? We have to think about humans holistically, not as employee number 1, employee number 24, or your title, but as human beings. So, for all of us out there that are leaders or wanna be leaders, you must set the example. Model the emotions and the actions that you want from your culture, that you wanna cultivate. You saw Gary yesterday, you're all paying attention to, he is online. Very much he is, what you see is what you get. As real can be. And that's what he does throughout the entire system. That's how he inspires us to be who we want to be. The way you see people is the way you treat them. If you see people as their biggest self, or as possibilities, then they're going to become that. Just think about that. Even just think about that concept. When you see someone as less than or as handicapped, that's kind of what they start to exude. It's really hard to come up strong when people see you as less. So let's cast that out. Let's see people as human beings doing their best, being champions, striving for something, and they'll become that. It's so important. And again, it goes back to treating employees as humans. That's the deal. Like, this entire room, you're all human beings, you're not attendees. And it's so important that I see you in your best light, and you see me in my best light. So, research shows that people catch emotions from one another, just like people catch inspiration from one another. Think about that as you go about your day, or in your offices, or even in your friendship group. We kind of get, we get each other's vibes. So what kind of vibe are you putting out there? Here are some of the emotional needs that people have at work. And probably you're like, yep, I have all of that. Autonomy, transparency, make me proud I work here, no gossip, make my work meaningful. I want to do something that's bigger than myself. Give me feedback. This is a big one. Tell me how I'm doing. One of the things I talked about earlier is we all deserve feedback. When we don't give someone on our team feedback, we are actually manipulating their growth. Period. When I don't give you feedback because I don't want to hurt your feelings, or because you had a bad day, or because I don't know how to give feedback, you're the one that gets hurt because I haven't stepped up to the challenge. So, figure out how to give feedback. There's a very kind way, very clear way, be very specific, be action-oriented. But give feedback and ask for feedback. I want coaching, I want to be in an inclusive environment, and I really would like to be recognized too. There's nothing wrong with being recognized, especially when it comes from that place of like, I worked my tail off, or our whole team just worked the entire week without any sleep. Recognize people. It goes so far, recognition. Again, common sense. Think of how this lands just with you. So, we all want to feel like we belong. I already talked about that. Connection is key. We are wired to belong to one another. We are wired to be in connection with one another. That is enormously important. Any psychology majors in the, okay, a couple. Did you ever study Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Great. On the bottom, it's safety, security, shelter, right? Right above it is belonging. We all have these. Give me purpose. So I'm just going to go back in time for a second. I'm going to talk about my purpose, and I'm going to talk about someone else's purpose. I was in advertising. I was a strategist for an extremely long time, and I was able to create incredible digital strategies for Fortune 10, Fortune 50 brands. Great, wonderful, terrific career. But my purpose has always been to facilitate growth and change with human beings. And so when Gary first hired me, it wasn't as Chief Heart Officer. He hired me as his first SVP. And I came to New York to run the Unilever brand. And you know what happened? 3 months after I started running the Unilever brand, he started to say to me, I want you to travel to those other offices. And I said, oh, okay, great, but Unilever is right there in New Jersey and I'm in New York. He said, just go do that thing you do. Meaning, go make people feel good. Go listen to people. So I started to do that, and it dawned on me again, as it had before, that I love making people feel good. I love helping people remove their roadblocks. I absolutely love coaching people. So on my year anniversary, I went up to Gary, the best salesman in the world, great businessman, and I said, I have to leave. It was like punching him in the gut. It was a terrible, terrible moment. He said, what do you want to do? Why are you leaving? Maybe 4 months. I said, I don't have 18 months, I'll give you 6 months, and all I care about are people. All I care about is the heartbeat of this place. Chief Heart Officer. So I'm now living my purpose. I get to work my purpose every single day. Now, if you're a copywriter and you just graduated from art school, and we shake hands and I say, great, it would be amazing if you give me 40 to 50 hours of your work, of your week. I'm going to give you growth and development and at-bats, opportunities, learning. You're going to work on some of the best brands of the world. Cool, we have an agreement. Your purpose coming out of art school is to learn and grow and develop. If I check in on you in a year's time and I say, hey, so how's it going? And you say, I haven't created any work, well then that's on me that you haven't been able to achieve your purpose. And in fact, you haven't been able to achieve anything. Because we come to work to work. We actually come to work to produce. And if that's the world you work in, or if you're a doctor to heal, or if you're a teacher to educate, or if you're a scientist to research. We all want to achieve something. Even me in my 40s, I want to achieve something, right? We want satisfaction. I want to feel good. I want to feel fulfilled. You guys do too. This is important for every organization to be mindful of. This is what we want, and we want to work hard. I want a lot of things for free. I'd like a free trip to Bali, but when I go to work, I want to sweat. I want to use what it is I'm supposed to do there. I really do. I want to sit with people and listen to them and get chills up and down my arms because they've touched me in such a great way, or because I see them moving forward in their life or exceeding their own expectations. So, belonging, purpose, achievement, satisfaction, and hard work. And by the way, this is not linear. This is fluid, and it's happening in a day, 3 weeks, 5 months, 8 years. And when it's really happening, you get into that flow space where it's just humming. And some of us are really fortunate to have that. So, Simon Sinek is a organizational psychologist, development person out in the world, and he said this quote that I found in one of his books, which is, when people are financially invested, they literally want a return. What are you going to give me? How much more stock options are you going to give me? How much more equity? But when you're emotionally invested in a company, and the company is emotionally invested in you, people want to contribute. We want to get in and start mucking around with one another and collaborating. So I'm going to walk you through a little methodology of something I put together at Vayner to create high-performing teams, is what I call them. And really, what I would really say is, this is really how you apply empathy in teams. So bear with me. We already talked about connection. Human beings are wired to connect. And as some of us saw in that other group I did out there, once you connect with one another, you start to become a little vulnerable, you start to open up, you start to trust one another. And as I start to trust you, I start to actually care about you. I care that you got engaged over the weekend. I care that your niece is in the hospital. I care that you are looking forward to that next review. We start to care. And when you care about someone, life completely opens up. And when your team starts to care about each other, you get to great, great heights. So, connection, trust, and empathy leads to teams that are accountable, leads to teams that are loyal and have longevity, and leads to teams that are resilient. Why are these things so important? Well, longevity means you're going to stick around and you're going to be with me and with the company through all the ups and downs. If I provide for you and inspire you, you're going to persevere, you're going to have grit, you're going to have calluses on your hands, because the working world changes all the time. Things are changing in the digital world, in the digital landscape. Sometimes you're working on a brief and then the client quits or fires you. All kinds of stuff happens. You have to have resilience. These all lead to high-performing teams that are rooted in core values, purpose, and agility. You can move, shimmy, and shake very quickly, but most importantly, and this is why longevity is so important, It creates teams that are wired for speed. Fast, fast, fast. And at VaynerMedia, we have people that have been with us for 9.5 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years. And the greatest thing about that is we now have a shorthand with one another, which makes things happen very quickly. And it makes it, you know that, like, gosh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. That's just me being rush, or I got really hangry and I didn't eat on time and I'm sorry, I was in a bad mood, all that stuff. I know you're laughing, but it's real, right? Because it's humans, we're just human. So, Darwin said it's actually not the strongest of the species, it's the ones that are most resilient that survive. Think about that. Evolution, if anyone's an evolutionary biologist in this room, I'm not, but I can only imagine that the species that were able to withstand the ice age and all the changes in the world are the ones that survived. When you see people as equal, it really changes your relationship with them. Rather than hierarchical, or you're smarter than me, or I'm better than you, or I'm a better graphic designer than you, that's just, throw that out the window. When you see people as equal, you really do feel empathy towards one another, because then we know we've been through it together. I understand what it's like. I understand what it's like to have a brief taken away from me. I understand what it's like to have a boss come in at the 11th hour and just everywhere. You know what I mean? So, empathy, it's so key. I already talked about this. It's the ability to understand and share people's emotions. Something really important, though, as we become more humble and bring more humanness into the workplace, is to remember that as a leader, it's not our story, it's your story. I'm here to guide you to great heights. I'm here to make you the best possible art director you can be. But it's not my story. I'm your guide, I'm your Sherpa. You're the hero. Really, really important. Take your ego out of it. These are my beliefs on leadership. Some of my beliefs, they're not for everyone. So as I like to say, take what you like and leave the rest. But I really feel as though leadership is a choice. It's not some kind of rank. It's not an authoritative place. If you choose to be a leader, you are choosing at times to actually be lonely, because it's hard to be a leader. But it is a choice, and the payoff is great. You look after each other, you deploy empathy, you run into the fire. You don't wait until everyone comes out of the burning house. You're the one in there, and you make people feel safe. It's so important. Again, back to Maya Angelou, it's how you make people feel. We all love a little Don Draper, right? Consistency is key. In leadership and in work, consistency, who you are today, please show up like that tomorrow. And if you can't, or something happened in your life, just tell me. That's all. Consistency is key. As a leader, focus in on strengths, and as an employee, focus in on your strengths. Play to your strengths. Play to your strengths. Create conditions for your team to thrive, not just survive. And obviously be the bigger person in every situation. And that means getting your ego out of the way. You don't need to be the big man or woman on campus. We're equal. Find moments when you can make an impact. One of the things we do, and we do it well, is we do something called surprise and delight. We don't throw money at people, but we will surprise them. If I know that that team has been working very, very late for the last 3 weeks, we'll do something great. We'll order them in lunch. We'll send them all to a Broadway play. It'll determine the monetary value, but we'll take care of them. I see you, I'm recognizing you. Size doesn't matter, but the impact, the intention really does. Recognition, recognition, recognition. And fundamentally, you don't get points for holding back. Be big, be big. If you're invited to that meeting, take up space. Don't hold back. And if you need people to be your champion and cheerleader, find them. They're right here. Thank you very much.